Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to my channel Learn English. My name is Mrs. Sheetal Jain Pillai and today I present to you a new poem from your English Yuvak Bharati textbook, which is poem number 2.4 Upon Westminster Bridge, written and composed by William Wordsworth. So this poem is called as a Petrarchan sonnet. Now what do you mean by a Petrarchan sonnet? A Petrarchan sonnet has got the first part of light lines called an octave. So in the octave, the poet William Wordsworth introduces the awestruck experience of calm and quiet London. In the next 6 lines, which is called as a sesset, he explains the reason of his wonder because he never expected such beauty in the busy city of London. So this poem is about the presentation of freshness of the city that appeals to the reader as the poet makes it appear more beautiful than ever. The poem has got its elements of amazement since it is an unexpected poem to the poet as well as the readers. So stay tuned while I run you across through the poem Upon Westminster Bridge by William Wordsworth. Icebreakers. A bridge connects people either sides of a river or valleys in cities or villages. Discuss with your partner the importance of a bridge to both the cities and the village and complete the table. So how is a bridge important and how does it connect villages and cities? First, transportation. Second, it could be medical and educational facilities made available in cities and village. Availability of land will be possible if we connect village and a city. Employment opportunities will be increased if the bridge connects a city and a village. Water can be shared and used judiciously by farmers on both sides of the bridge. Building a bridge needs careful planning. Think about what goes on before the actual construction. So whenever we have to build a bridge, what happens before we start building it? First of all, we cannot forget proper planning. We need to get proper approval, draw the design, get the design selected by the appropriate authority, select a capable and qualified builder and arrange for availability of funds. Only after this all is done, we can start planning or start construction of the bridge. You might have visited a bridge. Complete the web describing the sights you could see from a bridge. Now this, you all can write your own answers. When you stand at a bridge, what can you see? So here are some of the examples which I have shared. Is you can see a waterfront or you can see an embankment of the river. You can see a lot of fishermen with their fishing nets. You can see boats and ships when you are standing at. Summary of the poem. So this poem is called Composed on Westminster Bridge. So the poet was crossing Westminster Bridge into London in the very early hours of the morning. William Wordsworth is known for his love for nature. However, this poem he describes London city. So London is supposed to be bustling with people, lot of movements here and there, the ship moving, the towers filled with people. However, since it is early hours of morning, he finds London city beautiful, clear scene of London sky spread before him while he crosses the bridge, which is quiet and lovely, anything to be found in nature. So the city is serene in the early morning. It is sleeping. It is not yet awoken. And he marvels over how beautiful and still it is. So he expresses the London city as beautiful and he says that a person crossing Westminster Bridge would be a dull person if that person would not respond to its beauty. In the next 2 lines, he says that the city wears a silent beauty like a garment, which means he compares the beauty of London to a lady where the lady has changed her garment to look beautiful. He also talks about ships, domes, and towers that stand out bright and glittering in the clear air. He continues to say that the sunlight falling on the beautiful city, be it the rock, the valley, the hill, is part of nature and it looks mesmerizing. The poet shows his excitement over the stillness of the city in the last few lines. He says that he's never seen such an excitement, he's never felt so calm and so deep, and uses exclamation points as he notes the city. He calls the city the mighty heart. He also says, "Dear God, the very houses seem asleep." So all the houses are asleep and all the mighty heart is lying still, which means the city is lying still. So given how busy and full of activity this major commercial city and center of empire usually is, it's no wonder Wordsworth is surprised at the calm. If, however, you have been in a city or town in the early morning on a clear sunny day before the bustle and the activity has begun, you know what Wordsworth is talking about. What he most marvels at is that this sort of serenity can exist in any urban area, not just nature. So this is the summary of the poem which Wordsworth mesmerizes and expresses how beautiful the London city is at the early morning. Upon Westminster Bridge is written by the poet William Wordsworth, who was born on April 7, 1770. He was honored the Poet Laureate of the United Kingdom in the court of Queen Victoria from 1843 until 1850. He was also an English leading nature poet, and his collection of poetry, Lyrical Ballads, is considered as the central work of Romantic literary theory. The poem Upon Westminster Bridge is one of his best examples of Romantic poem. Upon Westminster Bridge is a Petrarchan sonnet in which William Wordsworth describes the beauty of the bridge as seen at dawn from Westminster Bridge, London. The world was experiencing industrial revolution at the time William Wordsworth wrote this poem. William Wordsworth was enthralled by the panoramic landscape, beauty, calm and quiet nature before him. The poem was first published in the collection of poems in 2 volumes in the year 1807. So Upon Westminster Bridge is written by William Wordsworth. So the poet, who is used to London being a bustling city with all the activities, is really surprised to feel the calmness all around him. Here, he is not presenting nature, but a big city with wonders of nature that can be felt by a nature lover like him. So the poet talks about how beautiful London is and how beautiful London looks from the Westminster Bridge. So earth has not anything to show more fair, dull would he be of soul who could pass by. So here the poet says that earth has nothing more beautiful to show me, and the person who's passing by without giving another glance to what I can see would be definitely a dull person. He says the sight is so touching and is so majestic. It feels like the city now doth like a garment wear. He feels like the city is wearing a garment like a beautiful lady. He also talks about the beauty of the morning, which is silent and bare. So the morning is beautiful. It's not only beautiful, it's also silent and empty. So it's not hustling and bustling with the noises which the poet is used to. Open onto the fields and onto the sky, all bright and glittering in the smokeless air. So everything is open, everything is bright, everything is glittering, and very important is the poet can stand there and not feel any pollution around him. So the air is absolutely smokeless. Never did sun more beautifully steep in his first splendor, valley, rock, or hill. So the sun now is beautifully steeping, and the rays of the sun is beautifully falling on the valley, rock, and hill. The poem says, "Never saw I, never felt a calm so deep. The river glided at his own sweet will. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep, and all that mighty heart is lying still." So here, the mighty heart is referred to the city of London, which is big, powerful, and man-made. The city is mighty. So when I say the city is mighty, it means the citizens are very active. But to the poet, it appears to be sleeping, as it is calm and quiet at dawn. Now the city is inactive, and the serenity of nature has dominated its busy activities. So the poet talks about how the river glides, how the river moves softly at his own sweet space, how the houses situated at the Westminster Bridge is falling asleep, and how the busy London city, the mighty heart city, is lying still. Brainstorming. For preparing questions based on the poem, overall understanding of the poem is a must. Discuss with your partner and prepare a set of 5 questions. So to understand any poem even better, you all can question yourselves and ask yourselves few questions regarding the poem. So for preparing questions, you all need to understand or have a overall understanding of the poem. When you know what the poem is all about, you can start questioning. Okay, so if you question and answer yourself, you will have a better idea not only of any poem but anything in life. Okay, if you have to discuss a passage, read the passage, close read it, annotate it, highlight it, and then start questioning. If you start questioning, that is when you will start thinking. When you start thinking, you will get n number of ideas, and it will be better if you do it in a group. So the questions that are based on the poem after your overall understanding is, who is a dull soul? So the poet says the person will be dull, will be called dull, who just passes by. So a dull soul could be a person just passing by, not standing and appreciating the beauty. What time of the day it is? So it is very evident that the poem was written early in the morning. How does London look from Westminster Bridge? Now this depends on your understanding of how well you have understood the poem and how well you have understood the poet. What are the man-made constructions? So we can see ships, domes, theaters, temples. All these man-made constructions are mentioned in the poem. Why does the sky look bright and glittering? How does the river flow? The river flows slowly and smoothly. The sky looks bright and glittering because of the rays of the sun. Yes, so all these are questions. Now, it is an important skill to frame questions as well. You all should know how to frame questions. In order to frame questions, you all should have an overall understanding not only of any poem, it could be any lesson or a passage. Choose the correct alternative for the given lines. Focus on the inference of the poet. Earth has not anything to show more fair. What does this line mean? The line means the poet thinks that there is another place which is more beautiful than this. Dull would he be of soul who could pass by. So anyone with an appreciative mind would not be able to ignore this beauty. The words and phrases which describe the following are: sight, which means touching, it's majestic. How is the air? It's smokeless. How is the river flowing? It's gliding at its own sweet will. How are the houses? They are sleeping. How is the morning? It's silent and bare. How is the sun shining? Bright and glittering. The poem creates a delightful picture of the city, rich in its natural beauty. Work in pairs, groups, and pick out the lines from the poem which give the pictorial effect to the poem. Write it in your own words. So what do you mean by a sight so touching in its majesty? Which means the sight is so grand, the scene is so grand that it touches the poet. The nature touches the poet. The city now doth like a garment wear, which means the beauty of the city in the morning is so unexpected to the poet that he pictures the city wearing a different attire which is as beautiful as a woman. The beauty of the morning, silent, bare. So the reader can feel the calmness of the city along with the poet, all bright and glittering in the smokeless air. The beauty of the morning is so apparent because of the pollution-free air which makes the sun look brighter. The river glided at his own sweet will, which means the smooth flow of the river can be visualized. And all that mighty heart is still lying. The busy city is lying silent early in the morning. Let's understand what you mean by personification. Personification is the figure of speech or the literacy device which we can use when a human quality is given to any inanimate object, non-living thing, or to animals. For example, when I say the stars winked at me, it is not possible for the stars to wink or fly or to move. But when I give some kind of human quality to any inanimate or non-living things, I am personifying them with human qualities. And therefore, the figures of speech is called as personification. Few more examples of personification from the poem are: the river glided at his own sweet will. So the river is smoothly, softly moving at his own sweet will. So we are giving a human quality to the river, whereas the river we know is an inanimate object. It does not have life. However, we are saying that the river is moving slowly and smoothly at his own sweet will. So we are personifying the river with human qualities. Next, the very house seems asleep. So we are now again personifying the house and giving the human quality of sleeping to the house, and therefore it is called as personification. What do you might mean by inversion? Inversion is when the words appear in an unusual order, or when the words are jumbled up for poetic effect. For example, in silent night when rest I took. This is an example of an inverted sentence. What is the correct sentence or correct order? Will be in silent night when I took rest. So inversion is usually written so that we can form a rhyme scheme for the poet, and it is also written for poetic effect. For example, from the poem, never saw I, never felt a calm so deep. Now this is an example of inversion. Why? Because the orders of the word is jumbled up and it appears in an unusual order. So the correct order of the word is changed for poetic effect. The correct order of the words are: I never saw, never felt a calm so deep. So in the exam, if I ask you what is inversion, you will write inversion is when the words appear in a jumbled or an unusual order. You also have to write the correct order of the words. Now I understand you know inversion, but how will I know that you know what is the correct order of the words? So therefore, to understand the correct order of the words, to understand inversion correctly, you all will also have to mention the correct order of the words. Now let's look at another example. Dull would he be of soul who could pass by. So the line of the poem can be written as he would be a dull soul. Now this figure of speech is an inversion. Why? Because the words are jumbled up for poetic effect. The correct order of the words are he would be a dull soul. Now if you write like this, you will get full marks in your exam. or else marks would be deducted. Upon Westminster Bridge is called as a Petrarchan sonnet because it can be divided into two parts. The first part, which comprises of 8 lines, is called as an octave. And the second part, which comprises of 6 lines, is called as a sestet. So if you can see, I have also divided the poem into 2 lines. The first part is called as an octave because it has 8 lines. The second part is called as a sestet. Why? Because it has 6 lines. Now, if you read the first 4 lines of the poem, you can see that the rhyme scheme of the poem is A, B, B, A, where fair and where is rhyming. Therefore, we give it A. By and majesty is rhyming. Therefore, we name it B. Now, let's come to the second part of the octave, which consists of 4 more lines. In the second 4 lines, in the next 4 lines, the rhyme scheme again is A, B, B, A. For example, bear and air is rhyming, therefore we give A and A. Lie and sky is rhyming, therefore we name it B, B. So, the rhyme scheme of the octave is A, B, B, A of the first part, and the rhyme scheme of the octave of the second part is A, B, B, A again. Now let's go to the sestet and note the rhyme scheme. So the first 3 lines of the sestet, steep, deep is rhyming, therefore we give it C and C. And hill, since it's just 3, hill will get a new name, D. So the rhyme scheme of the first 3 lines in the sestet is C, D, C. The rhyme scheme of the last 3 lines is D, C, D, where will and still is rhyming and asleep will get a new name, C. So, steep, deep, asleep will be C. Hill, will, still will be a D. However, the rhyme scheme of the sestet in the first part is C, D, C, and the rhyme scheme of a sestet on the second part is D, C, D. So this is a common design of a Petrarchan sonnet. So now don't get confused of what is a Petrarchan sonnet if I ask you this in the exam. A Petrarchan sonnet is divided into 2 parts. The first part will be of 8 lines called octave. The second part will be of 6 lines, which is known as sestet. The rhyme scheme will be usually like this, which is A, B, B, A of the octave, and for the sestet it will be D, C, D and C, D, C for the sestet. The poem, written by William Wordsworth, composed upon Westminster Bridge, is a portrayal of an awe-inspiring, characterized early morning as observed from Westminster Bridge in London. The main themes are beauty, serenity, and harmony of man made with the natural world, especially at transitional times of day when, as in the early morning, when the world is still and deserted. So, in the poem composed upon Westminster Bridge, the poet Wordsworth describes the city so serene and still, the beauty is not easy to pass unseen. Throughout the poem, Wordsworth uses tones, figures of speech, and imagery. Wordsworth uses imagery to make us feel and see what he is as he gazes from Westminster Bridge. He uses visual imagery to reckon the beauty that he is observing. Wordsworth sees those things which we never thought would have been beautiful, and he goes on to prove the things to be very beautiful. Wordsworth also used the sense of inter-emotions. It is as though he is astonished at how the humblest things from nature can influence our emotions. Furthermore, Wordsworth uses personification in many places in the poem with regard to the sun, city, rivers, and houses. He builds the intuition that nature is a living being having a soul. With tranquility, We can visualize nature's innate beauty. Wordsworth uses a lot of similes to liken morning beauty to clothing. The manner in which the poem is written displays many different tones, such as admiration for the attractive sight he views. It is as though he is praising the minimal of beauty. Wordsworth also gives the tone of peace. In what way the city is tranquil, that for those instants it is so peaceful. The way Wordsworth used imagery, tone, and figures of speech in the writing of the poem is in what way he can get others to feel as if they were there that morning to feel and see what he felt and saw. This poem reveals that there is beauty in each and everything. Nevertheless, to sometimes visualize this beauty, we should look harder to discover it. As an assignment, students, you'll need to write, this is a Petrarchan sonnet. Complete the given table by giving examples from the poem. Now you need to understand what is a Petrarchan poet and what are the examples given in the poem. You also can write, the pride of any city is its skyline. So write about 5 lines about the places where you reside and what makes you feel proud about it in the form of a poem. Next, there is a common belief that cities have always flourished only after human intrusion over nature. Write a speech expressing your opinion about it. Now, I have given you guidelines about speech writing. Use that and frame 3 paragraphs which should have persuasion, information, and entertainment in the body. Compose a poem on an imaginary village. Try to maintain the rhyme scheme in the poem. You may begin like this. So try to maintain the rhyme scheme as given in the Petrarchan sonnet. Write an appreciation of the poem. Refer to the earlier poems for the points to be covered for appreciation. So the appreciation has already been discussed with you in the poem. You can write the same appreciation in your classwork. So this is me, Mrs. Sheetal Jain Pillai, signing off. Until next time, bye-bye.